Hi, good morning, everyone. We love you.
All right, we found you. Are we?
You're live
I
on
always
air.
hate that.
We're live on air.
This on, huh? Hey, can you hear me back there? Okay. The
So,
next raffle winner is. No, we had a little technical problem there. The wind messing with Lubie's internet connection and wiped you off the face of the planet here. So I think we're going to have to eliminate one of our guests here on the program because of the 10 minutes that we just lost in terms of valuable airtime. So see if you can get the Greeks' picks, and we'll at least be able to pass those along to you. And then we're going to get to the professor here in just a few minutes or so, we hope. And we'll have the big board and his college football plays, which the professor, even though he's kind of slowly easing his way into the season, it hasn't been like he's been knocking it out of the park. You can count on this man getting on a roll. I believe this in my heart of hearts. And nobody with better expertise on this stuff. So, I mean, if you like listening a lot, you have to listen with a discriminating ear, people. Just because some guy comes up to you at the track and says, the 4 can't lose. You have to consider, was this guy, committed, for criminal, insanity of some crime just yesterday and is awaiting sentencing? I mean, you don't know, right, what the source is. So it's always good to get insight from somebody that you respect. And then if you don't agree with them, right, if you really think BYU is a chump team and they're never going to cover a point spread, and the guy gets on and makes a very eloquent case for it, well then use that in your own handicapping. It's all about finding yourself being a degenerate. All right, so we're hopefully coming up with the professor and the rest of our cast, Mark Lawrence, playbooksports.com, and Mike Mayo. And I think Mayo might have put a curse on your internet connection there. Because I think we were a little hard on the man, right? Just because he was eating that whole fish with his fingers. I mean, but then, he would offer it to you. That was the weird thing. Like, just finish it then, Mike. Finish it. Put the plate in front of yourself and finish it.
So you're gonna keep mocking him.
See, I don't know if he reviewed like community food. Didn't they do a lot of sharing when he was reviewing restaurants? Typically you wouldn't be able to order like 5 different things that you would want to sample. So you're with a bunch of people, and maybe you take a little taste of everything. Now, how did he do that?
See, I think it's the opposite. I think he was doing a lot of individual critiquing, and that's why this happens. He's so used to just eating on his own, that he can't share. I think that's
would you like a bite? You say that, but if you say that to Mike Mayo, he just grabs the whole piece, like the whole steak, and then bites it and goes, here, take it back. I don't like it. It's overcooked, charred on the outside.
Oh, my God.
All right. Back with more in a moment. Thank you, people, for bearing with us. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I think you put a curse on the show. I really do. It's 7:45.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
This comes from the great Defo Llama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take, that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you, the Defo show here on South Florida Live. I'm not seeing a third person here.
Oh, you're not. And I haven't heard from him. He reached out to me last night and was like, well, there he is. He's there.
Okay, good. It looks like he's checking in here. The professor, as we've been a little discombobulated, the professor looks like he's in a horror movie here with this lighting. Oh, there you go. Getting a little better. All right, turn a couple of more lights on there, Professor. How are you? You're silhouetted here. It almost looks like you're about to be interrogated by the FBI. Like you're one of the January 6th people. How are you, Professor? Can you hear us? Do you have us? And can we hear you?
I am. And
good. That looks good.
Dolphins fan, I feel like I'm in a horror movie after everything that went on last night.
Well, I mean, and I know you respect this man. I don't know that you felt this way about him before we got to know him a little bit, Brandon Lang, but he offered up a theory about.
That's not necessarily a word I'd use, but
he's entertaining at the very least. You would have to admit that.
I like him. I don't know if respect is a proper term.
Okay, I don't even know if he would want anyone's respect, to tell you the truth, except maybe for his opinion. As a human being, I mean, he just lays it out there. But he was very convincing yesterday on our podcast about situational handicapping applying in last night's Dolphin game, and just the whole idea that no matter, I mean, the fact that they had won those first three games, all in dramatic fashion, coming from the grave against the Ravens a couple of weeks ago, and then beating the Buffalo Bills in an emotional bloodbath where their defense was on the field for 90 plays, that they were just in an impossible spot yesterday going on the road and playing Cincinnati, even though Cincinnati had not fared very well in their first three games. They finally won one over the Jets. We didn't know what that was going to mean, but I would imagine the numerology, Mark Lawrence would probably be able to attest to this, devastatingly against the Miami Dolphins yesterday in that spot. A road team, 3 days rest, coming out of the three games they played to start the season. You're not impressed with that theory? Either not, the professor froze.
He just texted me. That's a great. That actually is such a live shot that it looks.
That says it all. Yeah, right there.
Because it's like. I was like, I'm waiting with bated breath. Wow, he has something really important to say that he's holding this exact face for like 3 minutes.
That's pretty good. All right. This is some Degenerate Friday. It really is. I mean, it's evolving as if we were in the eye of Hurricane Ian, which, that's the other thing. This thing has reformulated itself. Was that atypical of storms in the past where they not only hit once, but they hit twice? I know it's not unprecedented. But, this thing is coming back with another another lifespan to it, which it's going to be a Category 1, I guess, hitting in the South Carolina area and then drifting inwardly across, a couple of states and creating more havoc there. But, I mean, that's really, really wild. All right, we'll try to pick up the professor and see if we can get that going. So far, we would be 0 for 2 at that point, would we not, Mike Lubitz?
The Greeks.
This is almost like the Aaron Judge home run chase, where all of a sudden you go ice cold and you're like 3 for 24 for the next 8 games, as everybody is watching every at bat. CNN is cutting in the middle of hurricane coverage. Oh, there he is. Judge is at the plate here, and we'll pick it up at the 2-2 count, and see if we can't get that going. It is kind of weird too. What's that, Lubie? Go ahead.
He gave me his plays. He's available. I'm hoping the professor figures his internet stuff out. Maybe down here there's just a lot of internet things going on. I don't know.
That could be. Well, it's certainly happening to us. Yeah. I bet you, our buddy Jack is probably watching this going, see, I told you guys you couldn't do it without me. But we're trying. Very fugazi, the atmosphere here anyway, and I would imagine a lot of people are having communication problems, although it did not seem like we were impacted all that heavily. I know they had the planes that flipped in the North Perry Airport. A couple of other people had some damage that was incurred by tornadoes that struck down here. But wow, I mean, you talk about overall being spared, South Florida, and I don't know. How do you feel about that though? Does that mean we got a bullseye on our ass for the next one? Because we've been very lucky the last several years here, especially since I've been living right on the beach practically. Which would be, I'm expecting like Sharknado conditions if anything happens here. I don't think I want to be around. All right. So anyway, so you have the professor's picks. So we'll see if we can connect with the professor and get the big board in
the
at least.
Greeks picks.
The Greeks picks. Okay. What do you have from the Greek here? Did he offer any logic with that, or did he just get this? I mean, because he has connections in Vegas. We want to present the scenario to you correctly here, because you might be asking, well, the guy doesn't really embellish any of his picks. He just goes, I like Cincinnati, I like Houston, and I like the Bills. You're like, okay, great, Greek. How's everything going in your love life? I think, you want to hear the theory behind it. There was a guy who made a very eloquent case, and boy, did he get lucky yesterday for Jamar Chase. There was an over-under prop on the amount of yardage that Jamar Chase would have, the outstanding Bengals receiver, who we could have had on our roster with the Miami Dolphins, had things shaken out a little bit differently. We might have been looking at Justin Herbert throwing to Jamar Chase. Can you imagine? Are we overlooking that, Lubie, as, because the Dolphins were in a position to draft both guys in different years? Jamar Chase and Justin Herbert. They could have had Herbert throwing a rock and Jamar Chase as the number one wide receiver.
I still think Chase is better than Waddle, but what they have now is a pretty solid configuration.
Nothing wrong with it, yeah.
So the second half, too, was playing literally as well as any quarterback in the league. So you can still watch.
Although last night he was a little suspect on those early long throws.
He made one throw that, again, was stupid because he is challenging himself.
He underthrew a couple of guys, though, that had a shot at catching a deep ball.
He underthrew a hill pass. That was fucking stupid. But every other pass, the one pass where he threw in between five guys, that was ridiculous. Like
that was I don't know, was that good or bad? I mean, it was beautiful the way it worked out, but
it was great.
It literally looked like an octopus was about to gobble up the ball there of Bengal defenders, and he lobbed it perfectly in there. I mean, with he tends to throw a little bit of a line drive, but that one had just the right trajectory on it to be effective, and that was a beautiful professional pass. Yeah, that's a big difference, too, that you see between college games and pro games, when you get to see kind of the layout of the defense and what a quarterback has to navigate. They have to go through an awful lot of arms and legs to get some of these passes off in the pros, and that is not there in terms of the number of obstacles that might be in the way and possibly impeding and or deflecting and intercepting a pass on the college level. So big step forward, right? And that looked good. I mean, you were thinking, wow, Tua doesn't normally make a throw like that. He would have hit the the first guy that was in front of him right in the face with the ball.
Yes.
And that would have been it. So, he was looking good. But I thought he underthrew a couple of guys in the game, and maybe that was testament to the idea that his back was a little bit dicey. Going into the contest. That's possible.
I don't know.
And he convinced McDaniel that he could play. McDaniel wasn't getting out coached there. The Zach Taylor guy. How about this, too? The Dolphins with the goal line stands again. Made a couple of real bold goal line stands. They didn't. They actually stopped them on like the half-yard line. And that was when the Bengals were down by 1 point, and they ended up opting for a field goal, which I thought, what I mean, is that just a wimp out? I mean, do you want to take the lead and lead by 2 points and leave the other team with a golden opportunity to win, or you want to try to ice the game right there? Of course, if you don't make it, which they hadn't on 2 previous runs, well, why do teams just ram the ball right up the middle in those spots? What about a little bit of variation? When they finally did, they rolled out the tight end after it looked like they were going to run the ball to the right, and they threw back for the touchdown.
They scored easy.
Yeah, it was like me throwing a ball to you through this screen here.
That's the stuff that bothered the Dolphins did in the drive before, where the Dolphins were close and took a field goal to take a lead. They had run 2 stupid-ass calls. It was like, why didn't you run a one-play action? If they're loading the box, and the Patriots did this forever, if they're loading the box, they're not even – the only way they can stop the run is by loading the box. Play into that. Like, I don't – like, the Dolphins have done it and scored touchdowns. I don't understand that mentality of let's just – we want to prove.
You'll have 3 guys crisscrossing in the back of the end zone, picking off defenders, like they were in an NBA game. And it seems so easy to score on any kind of play action under those circumstances, especially when you see them line up like they do, where, they have 6 guys between the 2 tackles. Or 7, and they're going to be extremely vulnerable in that situation. But not a lot of imagination on some of those play calls, that's for sure. Or at that point, just sneak it over with the quarterback. That would be a lot easier, wouldn't it, than handing the ball off? All right, we do have the professor. Very good, Lubie. Professor.
Yeah.
This has been, very. I think Mayo has put a curse on the show. I believe that.
We've been making fun of
because
him.
he's mad that we're making fun of his eating habits, which I don't know if you've witnessed this, but didn't you have a meal with Mike Mayo?
Mayo was that was the most well-behaved Mayo was at the Foundry. He didn't
At the Foundry, you guys did a show there. He didn't eat?
He hadn't been unleashed yet. He hadn't been this guy that we've seen the last 3 months.
Oh, okay. I mean, if a guy's at your table,
what's been going on?
Oh well, we were sharing a piece. How they serve the whole fish. We're at the Even Kill Fish Shack. I don't know if you do that at the Foundry, the whole fish thing.
I'm not a fan of that.
Me either.
The whole
but
fish
he's
thing.
not either. He's not.
I'm with you. Yeah. So I'm ready to pass through on this thing anyway, even though it looked, I know it can be a very, very delicate and delicious presentation of a seafood dish, and they do great work there, Even Kill Fish Shack, fantastic, as you do at the Foundry. But if you're sharing a plate, should the guy dive into the whole fish with his fingers?
No.
Should you not go Sorvino on that and be slicing it up a little bit like you were doing the garlic in Goodfellas?
Well, first of all, why are you sharing a plate with another dude?
Well,
because they brought a giant thing out for the three of us.
Yeah, I don't go for that. No, if you're,
you would think he would cut it up, and portion it and go here, Lubie, here, Defo, and then if he wants to slime the rest of his, that's fine, right?
I'm not big on sharing food as a general thing. I don't like it when the fry grabby thing, which when you order some fries and she doesn't or he doesn't, and they want to start grabbing your food. I'm not big on that. I'm not big on sharing plates with other dudes. I think that's improper social behavior just to start with. There's like a million things going wrong there. It's just not good to eat fish with your fingers, period. Who the hell does that?
Mayo. The Gambling Gourmet, Mr. Sophisticated dining critic. I mean, if he had put the kibosh on the Foundry in his Sun Sentinel article, you would be with a hot dog stand right now. That's how powerful he is with the pen.
He's a slob.
But he's a slob when he eats. It's amazing.
It's weird.
I mean, I hate to be a jerk about it, but is any writer that powerful in 2022?
Well, I mean, not in the format that it was, but people either have
the
article.
If that's the case, you're not
there.
writing for a newspaper anymore, right? Like I'm trying to think of a least powerful job in 2022 than being a newspaper writer.
Think about this. He has the legions of 90,000 following his recommendations on Let's Eat South Florida. That's 90,000, mostly Broward residents.
That's a Facebook site. That's not a newspaper.
Right. But I mean, he's transitioned, obviously, with the times here, but still very influential. People fear this guy. Okay. I'm telling you. They fear him. All right, let's get into
he doesn't seem like a guy to fear. The times I've met him, he seems like a nice guy.
Very nice guy. I mean, there's something that went wrong there. I don't know if it was a bad acid trip or something, but something happened to this kid. Plus, he likes to gamble, which makes him even more endearing of a character.
I say, other than the Skyline Chili thing, I like the guy. I do.
Oh no, it's impossible not to like him. Yeah.
A reprehensible form of behavior. Advocating Skyline Chili's.
He's like Ed Asner and Lou Grant. Yeah, I mean that's how I would characterize it. A little bit of Ed Asner as Lou Grant, where they're curmudgeon-like kind of, I'm going to make a face at everything you say and disagree with you, is likable. It's sort of lovable. All right, let's get to the gist of what we have to do here, because we've really compromised our time here on the show. And a lot
Sorry
to do.
About that.
No, it's okay, Professor. As they say, shit happens. All right, but we want your college plays first, and then we want to get to the big board. Which we missed last week because we were also having technical problems. So that's become a little bit of an ugly pattern here. So what are we doing on the college front?
Okay, for the sake of expediency, we're going to skip some of the explanations here and just go to the picks. We're taking Washington -3. Looks like it might be getting actually ready to drop to 2.5 over UCLA tonight. I like the spot. No respect for UCLA so far this season. Look for the Huskies to win touchdown plus. And then we're going to actually do a in Lubie's honor double header, except it's not. It's going to be the reverse of Lubie's honor here.
All right.
And we are taking both the side and the total in the Wake Forest Wake Forest Florida State game. We're going to take Wake Forest plus the 7, and we're going to take the over 65. Because, again, Wake Forest can't stop anybody, and nobody can seem to stop them from scoring. I think both of those parts of that game look very tasty.
All right. I would imagine. Well, Lubie's already got his season made by getting off to the 4-0 start. So they would have to lose several games in a row for him to, turn back to his original opinion on Mike Norvell, which is that he sucks and was a terrible hire. Now that he's all over this guy.
That's actually very true.
Yeah.
I'm pretty okay right now.
What do you think of your boy Mayo, man? What's that all about, Professor? Did you watch that debacle last week? I mean,
yeah,
that was a frightening awakening. I think for
when
me
you're in
too.
the middle, when like this mystery billionaire, he's like the only dude on the planet that somehow has $1 billion and nobody understands how. When your mystery billionaire benefactor is begging the city for land and money to build the stadium, not the best time to lose and get embarrassed really by Middle Tennessee State. Although I do have to say that people, I think, are overreacting a little bit to that. I've seen people call it the worst loss in the history of the program. Hyperbole of that nature. I think that's taken things a little too far.
Probably so, because the program hasn't established that what the relative meaning of a lot of these games are yet. And but I mean, it was alarming to me. I mean, and I saw some of this. I thought they should have beaten Texas A&M, and they had many opportunities, couldn't capitalize, and kind of played a little bit conservatively, I thought, under the circumstances of trying to break through.
Well, it turns out that
win.
Van Dyke stinks, so there was actually a reason to play conservatively in that game.
Isn't that amazing? Now, how did this happen, though? I mean, the guy, I actually considered putting a few bucks on Van Dyke to win the Heisman at 40-1.
I honestly am starting to wonder if it's like has developed, I don't know, a personality disorder or some kind of serious drug issue, something along those lines, because you go to Texas A&M, you play crappy. You come home and do an interview on a major podcast where you basically Miami fans stink and I hate playing at home because there's never any noise. And then you go out and lose to Middle Tennessee State. Like it kind of seems like you lost your mind a little bit there.
A little bit of self-sabotage involved with a college kid who no doubt is getting paid by that Ruiz guy quite a small fortune, if not a large one, to endorse whatever that a rapist stand that's outside the stadium.
Yeah,
that's
the problem. Play. I don't even know what the guy owns to get an NIL deal for, honestly.
It's amazing, yeah. All right, so that's it on the college plays? Just a couple of plays?
Yeah, just 3 this week.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Let's get to it. And we're sorry, we kind of had to bums rush our way through the segment here, but let's get right to the big board.
My fault. We had some technical difficulties here. So we will go to the big board, and we, of course, didn't do it last week. So we're going to combine the last 2 weeks.
Oh, great.
And that leads us to the big board of Dummies of the Week, because over the last couple of weeks, a lot of people in sports doing a lot of stupid stuff.
Yes. I think of a few names that would be ripe to be on this list.
Okay. So we're going to start with number 5. And then, frankly, these two don't seem quite as dumb today as they did yesterday when I was cooking this up. But that is number 5. Dummies of the Week. It's a tie. Brian Flores and Colin Cowherd.
All right.
Tua throws for 468 yards. He beats the Super Bowl favorite. And what does Colin Cowherd do to react? Comes out and doubles down on how much Tua stinks.
He's an authority, man. He knows his stuff.
I'm not saying you're not entitled to your hot take there, Colin, but maybe the time to be doubling down on things. And as far as Brian Flores, I feel like I need to point out repeatedly that I am completely vindicated of everything I've said about Brian Flores. All you have to do is look last night where the team just watched their quarterback get carted off on a bodyboard and taken to the hospital, and they still look 10 times happier than they ever did playing for Brian Flores.
This is true, yeah. They did cast kind of a negative pall.
It's not just the players. It's not just, the facilities. It's the fans, too, except for this very small, somewhat vocal minority of fans who are bought into Brian Flores' lawsuit. Miami Dolphins fans in general have a lot more joy in 3 games this season, or 4 games this season, than they did in 3 years under Brian Flores.
Yeah,
100%.
No doubt about it. It's amazing how quickly they turn.
That even Ryan Fitzpatrick has jumped off the Brian Flores. But you're bad when you're the only coach who will keep you employed no longer supports you.
He did seem all in on Tua. Yeah. Okay. Excellent choices.
As
there to
always
start
with
us out.
Brian Flores, I'd just like to note one thing for the small number of Brian Flores fans. Two things can be true at the same time, people. It can be 100% true that, yes, the NFL's hiring policy when it comes to head coaches is totally tainted with racism. And also true that none of that applies to Brian Flores, who is a terrible coach.
All right, in at number 5, Dummies of the Week.
It's the reason, by the way, Brian Flores' lawsuit was like 47 pages long and 32 pages were about Eric Bieniemy and not Brian Flores.
Not even him.
Yeah. He was the
All right.
Who was the guy that used to trot around, the ex-Raider? And he was Art Shell. He was the obligatory interview on virtually everything, right? And they would satisfy the Rooney Rule, and then he had no chance of getting the job. It was Gene Upshaw. That was the guy. Gene Upshaw. All right, that's number 5. Number 4.
Let's go to number 4. Very frequent target. I don't know if you've seen it, folks, but if you have not seen the Russell Wilson Subway commercial, you need to check this out because Russell Wilson has made the full heel turn from dork, nerd, herb, whatever you want to call him, to what very seems likely that Russell Wilson's a serial killer. Because if you've not seen this Subway commercial, it looks exactly like you'd expect if a serial killer had somebody tied to a chair with a ball gag in his mouth and was sitting there telling them about his new Subway sandwich. It looks exactly like that. And he even does this weird thing in the voice in the middle where he goes, "Be careful, it's dangerous," in this sort of weird whispery voice. And then says, "But it's a little bit spicy," in this weird Michael Jackson high voice. I don't know if you've seen the Dahmer special on Netflix. I thought that was the creepiest thing I was going to watch anytime this week. But turns out, no, Russell Wilson's serial killer Subway commercial, much, much creepier.
Exceeds
than the very accurate and true to life Dahmer special on Netflix.
Mysteriously poor play also from Russell Wilson, who was dissed on our podcast by Buzz Bissinger, who just said this is the worst thing that ever happened to the Denver Broncos, signing this guy for $250 million. And it appeared that way because they managed to stage maybe the most boring NFL game in history when he matched up with Garoppolo last week in an 11-10 thriller on Sunday Night Football.
I mean, we are talking about the franchise that started Tim Tebow for a year, so I'm not going to say the worst thing to ever happen to the Denver Broncos franchise. But
is that a tuna sandwich? What is he eating there? Is that the
no? That's the new Dangerous sandwich.
Why do they have someone tied up?
Why would that be? It's not. There's not actually. You can't actually see the victim in this commercial. It's just Russell Wilson looking into a camera. Again, as if he were talking to a hostage and very creepily describing his new Subway sandwich.
All right, here's number 4. And you had to figure that if you were going to do Dummies of the Week, Russell Wilson would at least make an appearance here. All right, number 3 on the list.
Number 3, I'm not even sure that dummy is the right word for this guy, but of course it's Brett Favre.
I thought he might be number 1. Yeah.
Who comes out and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, not only did I steal the $5 million from welfare that was supposed to go to the state of Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi's athletic program, I've also taken like $500,000 out of the charity that was supposed to go to poverty-stricken kids and kids with cancer, and also donated that to the University of Southern Mississippi Athletic Department." Honestly, between what we learn something new every day of Brett Favre and the transformation we're seeing in Aaron Rodgers, I am starting to wonder, what are we going to find about ex-Green Bay quarterbacks? Is it going to turn out that, Don McHouse has committed a series of rapes across the Midwest? Are we going to discover that, Lynn Dickey's the one who's distributing fentanyl throughout the country? I'm really not liking the pattern here for former Green Bay Packers quarterbacks. we're gonna find out that secretly Bart Starr, started the Nazi movement or something along those lines. Like, it's ex-Green Bay quarterbacks are caught in a very bad pattern right now.
What about Zeke Bartkowski? You think he was up to anything that was of a devilish nature? Possibly so. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, and Favre also, didn't he take from like special needs children's funds about $1.2 million in phantom appearance money? Yeah, phantom appearances.
Yeah, great. Yet another Brett Favre moment.
Yeah. He was going to give a speech or something, and it never showed up, and still took the fee. And turned out, I mean, he was robbing like the most desperate of people in charitable needs.
And again, this would suck less if Brett Favre weren't the guy. When I was a kid, when Lubie was a kid, everybody liked Brett Favre. Everybody was a Brett Favre fan.
His love of the game, my friend. His love of the game.
Again, great John Madden couldn't spend any more of his time with his head up Brett Favre's ass than he did every Sunday for 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, this is the first time I'm glad John Madden's dead, because this Brett Favre stuff would have probably killed him if he hadn't already died.
He would have spun it like the MAGA people and made it look like it was the charities that were at fault, of course, and guilty of criminal activity. All right, Brett Favre at number 3. So that leaves, a very lofty plateau for
again
numbers 2 and 1.
Dummies of the week, not scumbags of the week. So Brett Favre's not necessarily by default one. Number 2, I think this one's pretty obvious to everybody. That would be, I don't even know what to call him. Do we call him still currently suspended Boston Celtics coach? Can we just go ahead and call him former Boston Celtics coach at this time? Ime Udoka, which now is Ime Udummy. Like,
woman,
woman? On the one hand, number one, I guess she's not his wife. She's his longtime fiance and mother of his children, is blazing hot. Like, you're not doing any better, dude. And number 2, you're in the NBA. You don't have like 30 groupies who don't work for the team. You got to walk around apparently trying to nail everything that moves in the office, including the wife of another employee. Yeah. Like, what are you doing, dude? Yeah, and somehow you get, again, this is rumor at this point, but this one's sort of been confirmed. You let a private eye catch and videotape you while you were at your Love Shack condo that you keep in the city of Boston. Like, how does that happen in the modern world?
Pretty ugly.
You can't afford curtains or blinds or something.
I think they consulted Belichick on that video, and
if you've got a love nest, I gotta think like a good set of blackout curtains are absolutely your first purchase, maybe your second purchase after the bed. But those have got to be like a high priority. This is like when Tiger didn't have a burner phone and he was calling, his coterie of porn stars and Perkins waitresses on his regular phone. Like, how does not every man know the basics of cheating at this point?
Especially in Boston, all right? He's right there at the epicenter of cheating in sports.
Again, and Mayo might be able to relate to this. I keep a burner phone for my Uber Eats just because I don't want Google to know what I'm actually ordering to my house over and over again. How are you a grown-ass man and you don't have a burner phone for your affairs? How do you have a love nest and you don't have like a really good set of blinds that some private eye can just stick a camera in your window and shoot video?
Yeah, you had to figure it was the owner's wife, for them to act as quickly as they did, and also as succinctly as they did by saying that's it. Although, like you said, we don't know. Is he coming back?
And honestly,
that'd be a weird thing to come back from, wouldn't it? 1 year suspension for that.
From what I've heard, no, he's not coming back. He's gone from everything I've heard. But, it's a little unfortunate timing there because let's be honest, if it had been Red Auerbach's wife and they had just got him to the finals, Red Auerbach wouldn't have given a damn.
No. He would have still lit up another victory cigar and
Red Auerbach
considered it a double win.
Red Auerbach would have been like, next time win the finals instead of the East, and you can plug my daughter too. I don't care.
Take my wife, please. Exactly. He's only in at number 2. And that, that's
number 1,
seriously stupid, as you said.
And there's certainly a lot of other things to rip this institution of, but I don't know why This one has really annoyed me for going a little more on a week now. And that is any Penn State coach who fell for this stupid fucking prank with Eli Manning. This is the worst disguise in the history of disguises. Number one, and honestly, I don't know how much of this was real and how much of this was kayfabe and the Penn State coaches were all pretending. Look at this picture and tell me you think this is a 26-year-old walk-on. I think Eli Manning put on makeup to make himself seem even older because he doesn't look 41. He looks like he's 61 in this picture.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it looks like a disgraced Cy Sperling client.
Okay, the wig is so bad. He doesn't look like he's got long hair. He looks like he's a chemo patient who's bald and wearing a horrible wig.
No kid is walking around a college campus with that on.
Yeah, it's
Nobody.
It's the worst wig this size of the side of the Albert brothers. Like,
Yeah, that's horrible.
I don't know. Again, I don't know how much of this was real and how much of this was kayfabe. And the one Penn State coach, the quarterback's coach, who looks really stupid throughout the course of this. He's like, oh, this Chad Powers kid, he looks like he's got a little something. I don't know if that was acting, but he made him look like the stupidest idiot in the history of televised sports. Because who the hell would fall for this?
No, it's nuts. Thank goodness
And
he
honestly,
wasn't. Yeah.
All the players he's trying out with, how are you a college football player? You don't know what Eli Manning looks like. He's like a top 5 most famous face in the sport of football. It's not like the Manning brothers haven't been on TV 75 hours a week since the day they retired, seemingly. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know how anybody bought this.
It does seem preposterous. Yeah, that flew even for a split second. It was kind of like, when we tried to pass Lubie off as Pat Day on the backstretch at Churchill Downs. And one guy actually bought it and said, hey, Pat, good luck today.
Again, much more believable than Eli Manning's a 26-year-old walk-on.
I mean, I'm sure.
It would be honestly like you trying to pass Lubie off as Willie Shoemaker, despite the fact that Willie's 90 years old at the time.
Well, yeah, he's been dead for a long time. All right, excellent job, Professor. I don't know that you could do much better than this list that you put together. The dummies of the week, Favre, Udoka, and closing with this Manning stunt. Outstanding.
I don't know why this one bothers me so much, but everybody else got a kick out of it. As I'm watching this, I'm like gritting my teeth because I'm like, who the hell would fall for this? And like they show him in a makeup, like when Kyrie Irving did the Uncle Drew thing. At least the old man makeup was convincing. They put him in a makeup chair and showed the people, like, if that's the best ESPN could do for makeup, they need to fire everybody in that department.
That'll be in the next wave of layoffs that they have at ESPN as they trying to figure out more ways to make us look like imbeciles or assume that we are. Professor, always outstanding, and I'm glad you got the technicalities corrected and going in the right direction, because a very, very enjoyable edition of the Big Board this week and your college plays. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show.
You have a great one, fellas.
All right, thanks a lot. Professor came through, man. I thought Teddy Bridgewater might deliver yesterday. I really did. I thought Bridgewater might be able to come through.
Look, he played decent. He wasn't too
not horrible, right? He had that long bomb there to Tyreek Hill.
Score. They, moved the ball. They weren't inept. It's just at the end he took. Maybe I didn't even realize that maybe they were off communication. This is like a bad throw to me. But yeah. Either way, they.
The guy breaks inside. He obviously was anticipating him going outside. There's no doubt there was the fabled miscommunication there. I think even Herbstreit might have pointed that out.
So yeah, I don't know. It sucked, but I mean they were in it. And look, this next 7 games is a much easier competition. So like, if Tua can miss a game and Bridgewater can be competent, they should be able to win that game. And
you got the big 10 days off. I mean, so if he's seeing bugs right now, he might have time to, actually clear his head. That was bad, though. That gruesome thing with the fingers.
Well, my God, was fucking creepy. And then on Twitter, the guy Nowinski, who's the guy. It's so funny because I kept saying, I'm like, we've interviewed.
We discovered this guy.
One of the times.
Yeah.
They're retweeting him, and major networks are retweeting him, and he's losing it. And it's like, dude, you're not right. Like, I agree with you that he got hit hard. I agree with you last night. He clearly had a concussion. I agree with you. It was gruesome. I don't think it can, and you're going to naturally connect it to last week. It doesn't. He was cleared by like 2 to 3 doctors.
Yeah.
Maybe more over the course of the week. Like,
Well, I mean, he would have been seen. I guess guys have played with concussions before they even started this thing. Nowitzki does deserve a lot of credit for bringing attention to this issue.
Early on.
Yeah.
But he was freaking out like yesterday. I'm like, dude, like, everyone needs to be gone. They need to fire everyone. I'm like, dude, you know this isn't that same NFL. Don't do that. Like, you know, the NFL doesn't give a shit about players, but they have put in protocols that do. And
they give a shit about money and you know, the liability that they're facing.
Yeah,
for allowing these guys to play. Now that they've gotten away with it forever, and then of late it hasn't been such a pretty scene in the courtroom because and their own like their staff physician, the chief physician of the NFL, I mean, should have been brought up on criminal charges years ago.
Oh yeah.
Right, he was worse than the ring physician there at the Olympic Auditorium, Dr. Bernhard Schwartz. Where you see him like checking the guy's pulse in the corner and then going, okay, yeah, one more round. Okay, if you had to go to the pulse, come on, Dr. Bernhard Schwartz.
I found it.
I don't know what part of the world you grew up in, but here we would have stopped the fight. I mean, anybody with a conscience. All right, Mark Lawrence coming up. Mark Lawrence is, from playbook.com, playbooksports.com, and a dynamite guy to talk to in these kind of spots. So we'll come back with Mark Lawrence and his plays, playbooksports.com, being represented in the next segment here on the Defo Show. A Degenerate Friday continues in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:23. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right.
All right. Tell me you had it, Mark Lawrence. Tell me you had the ultimate parlay, moneyline parlay, Jets, Bengals. Both teams had to be, 10-1 money line. It hasn't happened since 1973. I think you're probably well aware of that. That two double-digit underdogs have won straight up in the National Football League. So we're talking about 47 years of history. That was erased with this double whammy that took place against the chalk. And many people got buried on that. Tell me you had it. Tell me you had a little taste on the money line Jets-Bengals parlay.
I tell you this, that if I had played the Jets and the Bengals on the money line parlay, I would be the lead speaker at a Gamblers Anonymous meeting.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
That was certainly a little bit far-fetched, if you think about that. Welcome back to the show, Degenerate Friday here on the Defo Show, South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and always a pleasure to welcome this gentleman to the program. I've been doing this a long, long time, and always enjoyable. The logic is absolutely insane. The quantifications and qualifications that go into some of these plays are simply amazing. With his database, playbooksports.com, the great one himself, a numerologist, at the level of a Rene Descartes. Mark Lawrence of playbooksports.com joins us here on the show. Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing just terrific, Defo. I hope we're doing better than Tua is right now, and I can only say that our prayers are with him and that he'll be back soon in a Miami Dolphins uniform and doing better things for the Dolphins.
He seemed, to get a thumbs up, though. I mean, they released him from the hospital. He flew back on the team plane, so all signs are positive after what looked to be just a gruesome injury in that game. We were talking yesterday on our podcast with Brandon Lang, the Two for the Money fame man, and I would imagine a gentleman you've come across in your various handicapping enterprises and endeavors at some time. And he was talking about situational handicapping with the game last night. And it was very Mark Lawrencean, the approach, because it did seem like somewhat of an impossible spot for the Dolphins. I know they were the underdog, and the line actually came down with money coming in on their side. But it seemed like on 3 days rest, and after playing, you always get into this stat about being out-yarded and time of possession and some of these things. All of the stats, indicated a Buffalo blowout against them last week. So their defense was on the field for 90 snaps in the heat of the sun there and scalding temperatures. And now 3 days later, they have to go on the road and play the team that was in the Super Bowl last year out of the AFC. It seemed like an impossible spot for them. I mean, did you see it that way, or were you inclined to go ahead and take the points and think the Cinderella ride would continue?
Well, that was spot on, Defo, because they were in a position that wasn't attractive at all to warrant backing an underdog. And what that does is keeps you away from betting the game at all, just staying out of it. Just the fact that Buffalo had manhandled them in the yards and in the amount of time of possession and everything else, and then coming back on the short rest really didn't benefit the Dolphins any at all in the football game. And was I surprised at the outcome? No. But I thought Miami could at least hold their head up high. They played really, really competitive, I think, for 3 3/4 of that football game.
Yeah, it was a tough spot, too, because, Cincinnati, look, early in the season, it is weird. I saw a stat, and I don't know how far back it goes, but that teams off to an 0-3 start. Now, it only includes one 17-game season so far, so that should be taken into consideration. But teams off to an 0-3 start are like 107-1 in terms of missing the playoffs. It seemed like, here's Cincinnati. They got out of the grave there by beating the Jets, and it just looked like if they were going to, be forced into the so-called early season must-win spot, that this might have been one of them also. And they did play an improved game. I mean, they managed to make up for their problems with the offensive line by throwing a lot of quick passes early on, and then they were able to take advantage of the fact that the Dolphins secondary, I guess, became banged up later in the ballgame. All right, Mark, coming off a 2-2 week last week, and we haven't really gotten rolling with the Mark Lawrence underdogs yet, but half of the battle in being a degenerate, Mark, as you know, is being able to hang in there in tough times, which you are certainly doing through the early portion of the season, picking all underdogs here on the program. So we're going to turn you loose. And the common practices for the people that are uninitiated here, tuning into a Degenerate Friday, a couple of college plays, a couple of pro plays. This is Mark Lawrence, playbooksports.com. Marcos, the stage is yours.
Well, Defo, we'll kick it off in college football with a couple of bods. These are better offensive and better defensive dogs. Teams that own the better offense, own the better defense, and we had better take the points.
A lot of new theories this year. I mean, what were you at? Some kind of place. Some kind of seminar. I mean, of degenerates, because you have a lot of new theories this year.
Well, we have to stay fresh, Defo. We got you got to keep attacking this from every way we can.
Beautiful.
But the truth be known, we've been using these bods for quite a bit, and basically. What we need are a few games under a team's belt to establish the fact that They do have an average that's consistent with the way they're playing. 3 games is enough in the National Football League, 4 in college football. That's where we're going to go with these buys. The first is going to be the 2 of these have scores to settle in these games too, by the way, and I think they can settle these scores. The first is California. They're going to be taking 4 points against Washington State. They catch Washington State off that wild loss last week. I mean, it was just an unbelievable finish to the football game, in which you look at whether or not they can get themselves back up here. With California, you got a team here that has the better offense, the better defense, and a team that is playing with revenge in a series where, when they have revenge, they're 7-1 against the spread, which is exactly what the case is here for California. The Cal Bears, I think they're the better football team, and I'll play them plus the 4 points.
All right. Starting out with California in the college ranks. Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com. Your second college play here in the show.
Second play, we're going to go into the Big 12 conference and take a look at West Virginia, and we should be able to take 10 points in this game against Texas, a football team that I have in my playlist, my fade list, and I would go so far as to say that if things don't shape up in Texas and Austin, that Steve Sarkisian will be looking for another head coaching job because he's simply not getting the job done with Texas right now. Yes, you take a look at inside the series here. It's kind of strange, West Virginia has been taken out 2 of the last 3 times, but 2 of the last 3 times they've been in Austin, they've won the whole football game straight up, and the only loss they had was by a scant little 4 points. They come in here with much the better offense, much the better defense here, and again, a football team that I think can handle a Texas team that's lost the money 6 straight times in a row as a double-digit favorite. So I'll play West Virginia plus the 10 for our second bod on the college football card.
Excellent. All right. 2 plays on the college ranks. So let's turn our attention to the card in the National Football League with Mark Lawrence of PlaybookSports.com.
Well, these are going to be 2 what we call stat spin-off plays in the National Football League, and they're going to key off of one another, off of one result that happened last week, and they were sort of what we would call queer results, and because the results were queer, they can work on both ways in both teams this week, and we're going to take advantage of just that.
Okay.
First play we're going to use is we're going to play New Orleans when they go to Minnesota to take on the Vikings in London, England. It's going to be an early 9:30 start. And
you are a brave man, I would have to say, with that play.
Oh yeah, we're very brave. Yes.
Yeah, I was just envisioning Jameis Winston at this point and thinking that's a rough one. But go ahead. Now, what's the logic behind it?
Well, one quick note on Jameis Winston here that I didn't realize. Yeah. He has. We all know he has this love affair for crab legs and lobster tail and things like that. Yeah. But he's also he went to Stanford. Okay, I mean the kid has some smarts. Okay, maybe it doesn't work out on the playing field, but nonetheless he does have some smarts, and we're going to play him in this role against Minnesota this week. Minnesota barely wins their football game last week against Detroit. They trailed the whole game. They come back and win the game in the final less than a minute to go in the football contest. But what I like here is this spin-off aspect of the football game. And what it is you take a look at New Orleans against Carolina last week. They lost straight up as a favorite. And you look inside the stats, they won the yards by 133 yards, losing the game as a favorite. That's part one of our stat spin-off play here at New Orleans. And also, I'll tell you this, that teams that go to London, England, that come off of a straight-up favorite loss, as New Orleans did, they're 9 against the spread in London when playing the Queen when she was still with us. But long live the Queen. That long did live the Queen. But we're going to play New Orleans plus the 3 there in that first early game in London, England, and then we're going to spin right off of that Carolina football game and fade Carolina, who won the game, the aforementioned game against New Orleans, in a phony fashion, winning the game as an underdog and losing by 133 yards. We're going to play Arizona, the Cardinals, in this football game, and If they do one thing well, the Arizona Cardinals, and it hasn't been a lot lately, but if they do anything well, it's winning games on the road as an underdog. The last 7 times that they've been an underdog on the road, they've won the game straight up 7 times in a row.
Wow.
I think they can expose this Carolina Panther football team. Baker Mayfield is being exposed for being a fraud, and I think it'll play out in a game like this where you got the better quarterback in Kyler Murray here, and we'll see if Kingsbury can improve to 8-0 on the road as a dog to win those games in straight up fashion. So we'll play Arizona plus the 1.5 for our second of our stat spinoff plays.
Brilliant as always, Mark Lawrence. Fantastic. That game in London always reminds me a little bit of like the hula ball, or a game in Hawaii. Where one team shows up and the other team is like got lampshades on their heads and
100%.
little streamers that they're blowing on the sideline. The coach looks all disheveled because it does seem like only one team performs in those games, and a lot of them are pretty dull. So we'll see. New Orleans, you like them in that spot, and the good news is you'll find out right away. By the time you finish that Mark Lawrence Cup of Joe, we'll already know the result of this thing. How can people get more of your information and theories and all of the different stuff you guys publish?
Well, everything we do is available online at our website at playbooksports.com. You can pick up my free complimentary video pick of the day every day at playbooksports.com, where you can also download our weekly newsletters. We have the Playbook Football newsletter. We have the Totals tip sheet, and we have our midweek alert, which is our horse racing form of football newsletters. We talk about stats, and it's all in the midweek alert. All available online at playbooksports.com.
Yeah, definitely worth punching that up. Mark, always a pleasure, my friend. Good luck with your selections this week and all of your plays in the variety of sports you handicap. And thanks so much for being with us here on Degenerate Friday.
Hey, my pleasure as always, Defo. You guys, you and Mikey, be well, stay safe, and I'll catch you next week.
All right, Lawrence, man. We'll talk.
All right, sounds good. Mark Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, playbooksports.com. Outstanding source of information. If you like to do a little sabermetrics on your degeneracy, nobody better at pointing things out of that variety than Mark Lawrence. 2-2 last week. I think he's going to start really coming into his own and hit his stride pretty soon here. Although that New Orleans pick, I don't know. Every highlight I see of Jameis Winston so far this year has been a low light.
He's chucking it. I mean, I know he
like
had
the automatic pick 6. I mean, it's a given every game. It seems like
he had injury issues, so maybe that took him away from being conservative. I don't know. They have a lot of talent on that team. Like, there's no reason why he needs to keep doing the chucking bullshit that he has done his entire freaking career. It's really annoying.
All right, Jameis never set foot on the Stanford campus.
He's actually, what he got right there is that Jameis is actually super bright. Like, Jameis was like an all-A student, had like a 4.0. He's an honor student. He's actually a bright. He really won the SATs. He's a bright kid, and if you actually listen to him speak, he uses a lot of stronger terminology. He just is a doofus, a goofball, and so egocentric that he thinks he can make every fucking throw. And this isn't the 80s where you're Marino, you can get away with 20 interceptions. Like, it's 8 or less, and the dude chucks it in times he shouldn't, point blank. And that's always been his issue.
I saw a feature on him last year when he was playing well, and they started to zero in on, what accounted for this transformation on the field. And he really did seem like he had gone through a metamorphosis of sorts, from a mental approach to the game standpoint. But unfortunately, we're seeing some of the former tendencies because that injury derailed him, and I don't know to what extent he's really bounced back. Tell you the truth, the New Orleans games have been pretty boring, have they not? What limited snippets I've seen of New Orleans football. Yeah.
You have Thomas back. You have Olave, who's legit. You have Kamara there. Like, they have a ton of talent. He's just not. They're not open. I don't know what they're doing. They're playing very conservative, and he doesn't know how to do that. He wants to take his change. It's what Tua never does, but has done now a couple times this season, where he's like, "I'm going to prove you all wrong." And chuck it and be impatient like Mahomes. And it's like, dude, that's not your game. Winston doesn't need to do it. He has a good line. They have a good run game and good talent. Just play the game.
He is not one that should ever force it. That's for sure. Julian says he was accepted to Stanford, but never went there. Obviously, he went to Florida State. All right. We're coming back with more. Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, joins us. I don't know that we need to put him on the stand here and have him defend himself for that disgusting display of etiquette or lack thereof. I mean, holy Emily Post, man. What was this guy doing? Huh? With a fistful of I mean, the whole fish thing, it was a great presentation, too. I mean, that added a dose of ugliness to it. I didn't quite understand. Was Brad in favor of what he was doing, the owner there of the Even Keel Fish Shack?
He allowed it.
I don't think he saw it. Would he ever invite Mayo back if that was the case? And we hope he does. I mean, we're coming back with more. Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, joins us. I'm sure he'll have something to say about all of this. But anyway, he's going to join us in just a few minutes here on the program. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, great place to go. Florida Keys were spared, and the whole area there, Key Largo. I didn't see anything of any kind of a damaging nature. So, we were in South Florida, very, very fortunate. But that makes it even more compelling to get down there. I think I thought I saw in a weather report, and I don't know if you could ever trust this to be true, but it was going to be like the most beautiful weekend because the temperatures are lower and there's no humidity. And I was doing my walk yesterday, so I get a couple of glimpses of the ocean as I'm cruising A1A, and it looked magnificent. Like you know how the storm blows out all of the schmutz?
Yep.
And then it's just like, crystal blue water, man. We should write a song about that.
What do you mean? This morning felt like a cold front. I'm like, when is it like 70s in South Florida in September? I'm like,
never, man. I went out to get my New York Post, and it's like a foot away from the door, and I had to go back in and get a coat. Yeah. I look like Joe Willie, man, coming in there with the fur coat to the AFC Championship game in 1968 against the Raiders. It's a great place to chill out. I mean, great food and drink, and we do have to I'll get on Tommy Fox this weekend to set it up. We have to have a definitive date when we're down there, and I hope you guys can join us. Anybody that likes the show and you want to hang out, because we'll do it at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Great food and drink. I mean, fantastic stuff. That mahi-mahi we had at the Even Keel Fish Shack yesterday, fresh as a daisy there, as part of the fish and chips, which I always see that on Let's Eat South Florida, where people are asking where I can get good fish and chips. That was as good as any, man. That was great. But as fresh as, I mean, it was. It's so similar to what you get at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. I mean, the seafood items were in the ocean swimming. They were talking to their friends. Hey, Joe, who do you like in a Dolphin game? And the next thing you know, whoa. They're right there. They're into the boat, into the little catch box there, and bingo, on your plate at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. It's fantastic. Great variety of food and drink, great atmosphere, live music all day on the weekends. They brought in several different bands. They were all great. Larry Calvano, the owner there, he'll step up there and start strumming a guitar. You got Dominic and Jemmy making what we hope Mayo will try, which is the Italian fisherman pizza. Segretto's has to get a bite of that too, doesn't he? Segretto, if he comes down? Yeah, he would love that, man. Unbelievable. Great stuff all over the board, all across the board there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo coming up next here on Degenerate Friday. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz on South Florida Live, and back with more in a moment. Now that. How did they not know that was Eli Manning? That was true. Definitely have to ponder that question. It's 8:45.
Oh, folks, Tony Segretto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
All right, so you have the poem. Let's do it.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I got DQ'd from the late double. Sorry, no champagne or caviar for you.
Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, ladies and gentlemen.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
He's wanting a baby.
Oh my God, he's already got a bib on for today.
It's called a napkin. I have a napkin because I'm a very neat eater.
You're gonna chow down right here on the show. Where you got the rest of that whole fish.
And I want to show you what I have today.
A knife and fork. Oh, good. Yeah.
Knife and fork.
You know how to use them?
Like a good critic.
Yeah.
And this morning on the show, well, first of all, I want to thank you. Good morning, gentlemen. I know it's been a little bit of a rough start for all of us.
I know it's been tough, yeah.
And but I got to thank you for giving me my epitaph. I finally got it. Is my gravestone will say Anthony Bourdain meets Debbie Does Dallas.
That was a long time ago. We said that on the show.
That was great. It's absolutely kind of almost
it
true.
really is. It is true. I mean, you know, you just never know what you're going to get from Mike Mayo.
But
I have to.
Here we go. You know, just to dispel all these, you know, just slanderous talk.
Yeah.
I know how to use a knife and fork. And in fact, right now I have a bagel with cream cheese in front of me, and I'm going to cut and eat my bagel this morning.
The one thing that we wouldn't mind if you picked up with your hands. You don't cut up pizza, do you? I can't imagine.
No. Creatures with knife and fork.
Yeah.
I just want to prove to you that I am a man
you're capable of doing this. Yeah.
Of refined taste.
All right.
And,
how is that? Is that another one of your grandpa's specialties there that you had frozen?
It was a bagel. I had a bagel from earlier this week. A little lox spread. Excellent. And okay, so the fish. Let's talk about the fish. In many cultures, when they serve this big whole fish, you know, first of all,
what culture? I mean, what part of the African continent are you talking about?
Well, I was going to mention
what
you guys.
fourth world country are you speaking of that doesn't have silverware?
I could never bring you to an Ethiopian restaurant because there are no utensils.
Moroccan restaurants also. I worked in one where there were no utensils. I loved it as a server because you never had to bring another fork to the plate, you know, the table. And you used to pick apart like whole chickens. That was the mainstay. You know, that was really the main course in these restaurants. And the people, I mean, big movie stars. It was in Hollywood, and big movie stars and big shots from you know, celebrities of all walks of life would be eating with their fingers.
Back at Boy Scout camp, we called it Viking style when you had a meal without utensils. And you know, sometimes
I kind of dig that. I mean, I do, but not in this situation.
But all right, so let me. The fish and chips come. You guys all grab the fish and chips, and I know each individual fish and chip, but then grabbing the French fries. Okay, I know you're not sharing the same French fry, but you're digging into the plate with your fingers, and then I'm going to a different part of the plate for my French fry. Same thing with the fish. I dug into the cheek.
Oh, get out of here! It's not even close.
I dug into the cheek, and I dug
French
in
fries
the
are like
tail.
an individual thing. And it's not like the whole thing all at once.
And if it was so gross, I believe that Lubie did pack up the rest of that fish.
Oh yeah.
Huh?
Oh, he took it home. Yeah. Well,
he took it home.
Yeah, I'm gross.
So you called him out.
I dug in a little bit towards the tail. There was still plenty of great meat. All right, I did kind of actually dig into the heart of it.
You slimed him, man. First with your finger. You did a thing with your finger. like you were a proctologist or something. I mean, I keep thinking about that. I wish you would put a rubber glove on when you eat.
I do have to also clear up something that when I go to the bathroom, I wash my hands twice. Once before I touch my dick, and then once after I do my dick.
That's a healthy image for the people here that are waiting for your appearance at Wicked Cheesesteaks later on this afternoon.
No, that was actually a famous Don King line because one time he went into the bathroom and somebody saw him washing his hands before he went, and he just turned to the guy and he goes, "I wash my hands before I touch my dick." So that's it.
And maybe
kind of makes sense.
Reason to,
kind of makes sense when you talk about it. And you know, you guys, okay, all right, you're grossed out about the prospect of me running my slimy fingers through your fish, which you don't even like to eat. So I knew that anyway, Defo. But I mean, every time you touch money, you know, that's the grossest thing you could handle any day.
We know that.
Every time you touch a dollar bill, and yet that doesn't stop you from then going on and eating French fries with your fingers and things like that. So. Anyway,
it doesn't justify the behavior. I mean, I'm sorry. It's Debbie Does Dallas on that end.
Yeah, let me get my
napkin. You know, I mean, but the exotic food tastes obviously lean towards the Anthony Bourdain and you. All right, what did you think of this? Because people are making a big deal.
Wait.
Yeah. All right.
No, you would have been proud of me. Last night I was on my best behavior. I was up at Joey's at Cafe Seville. I did a double header. I was at Joey's and then I went down to Shenanigans, and
you only ate twice?
You really threw all this shit away, huh?
No wonder you
No,
flunked that scale test that we had going.
Joey, I go in there and he says, I got to, like, it was packed. I couldn't get a seat at the bar, but there was a guy at a two-top. He says, Mike, you got to sit here. This is my oldest, dearest friends.
He Henry Hilled you, I think.
The guy on the phone. Turns out it was, and he big foodie, big fan, longtime friend of Joey. Also happened to be in town this week because of the storm with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers offensive line coach, Joe Gilbert.
Oh, nice.
Super Bowl winner. And we bonded. We formed a quick bromance. And he's telling me about all these good restaurants in Tampa. And his good friend of his is a chef owner of his name is Chris Pont. And he used to work down here at Mark's Las Olas. He's gone on and opened a couple of restaurants. This guy, Chris Pont, Italian place called Olivia's. And then Chris is getting ready to open a brand new restaurant, like high-end chop house and seafood joint. So Gilbert wants to come on the lunchbox and just hype up his friend, because I was saying, I get, and like on the Let's Eat group, everybody all the time is going to Tampa, and everybody just says Burns, Burns, Burns. So it'd be nice to hear about other places in Tampa. So we're going to be talking to him on the lunchbox on Tuesday. He's jazzed.
Oh, beautiful! Wow.
And again, that's going to be coming off of the big Sunday night game, marquee game of the week of the Bucks versus Chiefs, the whole old man versus the young man, Mahomes Brady matchup. So we'll get some football and food talk with Joe Gilbert, and good guy. Division III player at Hamilton College, and I told him I went to Tufts, was a jumbo, and he lit up. He goes, NESCAC, we used to play Tufts. So it was good.
And you had never met this man before? This just
never met him before. And the reason you'd be proud of me, Joey, of course, sends out a couple of the shrimp Santa Fe and the shrimp al ajillo.
Because of you or because of Gilbert?
Because of Gilbert. I mean, we're sitting there. I have drink, and then Marty, the old coach from Cardinal Gibbons, comes over to the table.
A lot of high school
guys,
really,
very, very convivial table. Yeah. And but when the shrimp comes, I used a fork. I didn't dig in with my fingers. See,
I would have dove right in with the hands there.
No,
I would not have blamed you at all. You pick the thing up by the tail, and you do one of your things that you do with the chicken wings, where you just suck it down, and the skeleton comes out.
And Joe's a good eater. He ended up sending me a picture this morning. He got not only the stuffed veal chop, which I always rave about, but he got like a whole spread of like a pork chop and another like Milanese. And
nice.
Yeah, the guy's a good eater. And he said he had help. I guess there must have been a couple other people at the table that joined.
Well, if he brought the offensive line of the Buccaneers,
no,
would you have pegged them even in a dining situation and said, you know what? I can see why you guys can eat a lot, because you got a lot of holes in that offensive line.
No? They were down to their fourth string something last week, and the guy really it burned them. I don't know.
So did he talk to you about Brady's diet at all? Or
I didn't really get into. I didn't want to pry too much.
You didn't ask him what's up with Giselle?
I mean, I'd rather not share some details of the conversation we had, but
he was freewheeling. That's pretty cool.
He's a very down to earth guy. I love, and he was good friends also. Good guy, friends.
If he's willing to come on one of a shows. He really has to be a down to earth.
Well, Joey was singing my praises, and he was like, "Oh, any friend of Joey's is a friend of mine," and they were all tight with Tony Siragusa, because Joe Gilbert worked for, I guess, 6 years with the Colts.
Oh wow!
And the whole Chuck Pagano crew, and then has been with the Bucks when he came on board in 19 when the Arians came along. So his fourth year with the Bucks. Boy, he was like at colleges all over the place for 20 years. And the bottom line is, so the Bucks were in town, the training at the Dolphins facility because of the storm. They're flying back this afternoon. He said they had a good week of practice. And who knows? It's going to be
all in, huh?
No, I'm not all in, but all I know is that
at home with Tom Brady.
The guy, I saw it as pick'em. What is it?
Oh, was it pick? I don't know. Yeah, I thought the Chiefs were slight favorites in this game.
The last line I saw just this morning, I looked, was pick'em.
I'm glad you're looking into these things.
Bucks are laying one right now. Bucks are laying one at this point.
Bucks laying one. Wow.
Bucks laying
that line has swung in the Bucks' favor.
Yeah. So, look, they were staying, and this is friendship right there. The team, I could say this now because they're leaving and they're checking out and going home, but they were staying at the Biscayne Bay Marriott, which is a weird choice. I would think they would stay at the Westin Diplomat or something if they're training at Joe Robbie, but they were at the Biscayne Bay Marriott. He says, just
they should be at that Holiday Inn behind the old Calder race course. Yeah.
But he took an Uber.
You only stay there in desperation. You have to hide out from somebody. That's the place to be.
He took an Uber all the way up from the Biscayne Marriott just to go eat dinner and see Joey, because that's the kind of friend that he is. But he also said that being around Brady, it's like being around the Beatles. It's like a circus everywhere they go with the security and this and that. And he's saying Brady is just a very regular, down to earth guy, which would explain why, other people in the league,
why he doesn't get along with women.
Got along for a while, so
I'm only kidding.
No, that's it. Anyway, so that was good. He's a good eater, and we'll be talking to Joe Gilbert on Tuesday on the Lunchbox. We're going to try to get him a video link. He says he's going to be at his desk. It's the team's day off, so he could do the computer link.
Don't let him see the show today from Wicked Cheesesteaks, because we're actually a little bit afraid that you're going to blow the account.
I'm so scared.
No. I just sent him a link to join the Let's Eat South Florida Facebook group.
Oh, good. All right.
About that. So,
nice. You want to offer up a burial pick?
Well, talk about burial pick with the game in London this week. Did you hear that? Who's tossing the opening coin flip? They're exhuming the Queen. The Queen is going to make a comeback.
Oh, good. Yeah, she should.
Oh my God.
They're going to toss it's been a while. Grave. Yeah, I miss her, and it's like she was traveling around everywhere. Come on, bring her back. Let her flip.
I think they're going to wheel Sister Jean out. For this one. She threw out like an opening pitch, a ceremonial first ball the other day at 103.
All right, real quick,
what do you got?
3 picks. Well, so first of all, I went 0-3 last week, and I was dead right about the Dolphins beating the Bills, but I was dead wrong getting all. You're right, Defo. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss.
Yeah.
Why did I get involved with parlays?
And teaser parlays, the worst. It's amazing how that works out.
Oh, I was kicking.
So tempting.
And then I went 0-2. I was just a disaster last week. This week, can I get credit because I was shouting from the rooftops, and I think I said it on the Lunchbox yesterday that I just loved the Bengals. It was like, just a dead cinch. So can I pass post on that one and give me 1-0?
I thought you liked the Dolphins in that game for some reason, but
no. He said this was wrought with.
Yeah.
He said what Lang said, but before Lang.
What Lang said, it was just like the biggest.
It was an impossible spot.
Game.
Yeah.
It was, and Tua's condition was.
Well, then he got hurt too.
And then he got into. Look, I was shouting from the rooftops, and I was texting you guys all night. Like I loved, the Bengals give me 500 units, and I texted that before the game. So that Bengals were one of my picks. I'm 1-0 so far this week. I'm going back to my hate the Jets and just bet against them theory this week.
That's
so
a good move.
I'm going to take the Steelers, giving 3.5 points. Are they still giving, or are they getting 3.5 points?
Jets have to be dogs. I mean, they've been so bad. The Jets are getting 3.5 on the road against the Steelers.
So I'm going to take the Steelers, give the 3.5, and then my last pick for the week, Rams 49ers. I'm going to go with the Rams. The Rams, I think, are getting 1.5 on the road at San Francisco.
Seems very odd.
And
I wasn't impressed.
It seems like a sucker line, but I'm going to be a sucker, and I'm going to go with the better team and Garoppolo. I don't know. It's just,
49ers are favored by 1.5.
Right. That makes again. It's now I'm wondering if it's a sucker line. I'm going to be a sucker. I'm going to take the Rams. Rams, Steelers, Bengals. I'm already 1-0. I'm trying to dig out of the hole of last week's 0-3.
So the worst you could be is 1-3. That's great. All right, Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet. We'll see you at Wicked Cheesesteaks later on today. That's just south of Commercial on Federal Highway.
Notice
on
my
the east side
use
of Federal
knife
Highway.
And fork. Yes.
Will you be using that on the lobster mac and cheese or any of those offerings that might come our way today?
Oh,
all right.
Bring
the napkin though. Bring the bib. That'll be good.
Shoveling it. No, that's going to be a beautiful thing. Yeah.
That's how we sign off with Mike Mayo on a Degenerate Friday. The Gambling Gourmet, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Who I still think it was an embarrassment what happened yesterday.
Yeah, it is. Grabbing fry. Look, and Ken's not wrong.
Grabbing French fries is one thing.
I want to be sexist, but women will do that. But it is what it is.
It's not like you slime the whole plate or the whole basket. You don't rub your hand over all of them. You just grab what ones you're going to eat yourself.
Yes, he was grabbing into a fish. It wasn't even
a messy fish.
You would grab it and go, "Do you want some?" I'm like, "No, not from your hand. I don't want."
As he's got it like dripping from his chin because his original thing was literally. I mean, he put this finger in there, and you're thinking, snap on a rubber glove if you're going to do that, Mayo. May as well see if I've got prostate cancer while you're at it. All right, we were having a lot of fun. It turned out well today. I hope you guys had a good time. We certainly did. Our podcast is still up. Yeah.
So the Greek actually gave me plays we were supposed to give in, and the professor popped on. So I can just give Greek's plays so they count for him. Hopefully as well, and then that's good that I gave them. All right. So this week, the Greek has 2 NFL, 1 college football play. He likes Kentucky getting 7 over Ole Miss in a battle
Right.
of 2 top 15 teams. Kentucky getting 7 over Ole Miss. And the Jaguars getting 7 over the Eagles in a surprisingly interesting matchup. And the Lions laying 4 over Seattle. Sort of a disaster. Lions laying 4.
Yeah. No, the Lions are scoring.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, they score a lot.
And they're motivated. The old Dan Campbell school of coaching. Yeah. Arr, go get them. I will see you at 12 o'clock. We're going to be on the road today with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, which is going to feature an NFL coach of great importance.
Tuesday.
It's Joe Gilbert on Tuesday, yeah. But we'll be at Wicked Cheesesteaks today, and I'm going to definitely dive into another cheesesteak because I love the one that I had there last time. Chicken wings are great. They have pizzas and all kinds of Italian stuff, and then they do this whole thing with lobster, which this is going to be, I think it's going to be fascinating. So
I'm
looking
over
forward to that.
but I may bring a slicker because there's liquids when it comes to cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine what the hell Mayo is going to do with these sandwiches. Like, I may wear.
Oh, no, this could be Annihilation City. I mean, and he knows no boundaries in terms of poor and, what would be considered in any restaurant in terms of etiquette, ugly behavior. All right. But
it'll be fun.
He's got a certain amount of charm to him, too, you know? Oh, yeah, I really like the sesame seeds in this roll.
It's fun to watch.
It's a good place. It's fun to watch because it's just so out of bounds from what you would normally expect from a man of his distinction. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock today as we leave you know that.
The time.
9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.